Okay. Good morning. I am Conversational from National Research Council, and it's a pleasure to present the second pilot of the ELOQUENCE project that is aimed at assessing the ELOQUENCE technology in the social context, and in particular focus on the detection of social biases in conversation generated by large language model. The pilot is led by CNR. So, of course, I present this slide to provide you information about the requirements and the vision and the progress of the pilot. It is important to start to present you the applicative scenarios because I want to motivate the choice of this kind of case study. And finally, I will provide you with end user perspective and I'll discuss about the potential impact across other applicative domains. So we can focus on a typical counseling practice. So we want to design the agent acting the role of a virtual advisor, leveraging the functionalities and tool provided by ELOQUENCE. And we focus on a domain of interest that is university educational programs advices, because as a research institution, we recognize the importance to support young people in this kind of critical decision for their path and career. So another important reason is that it is a scenario that is challenging from a social point of view, because this kind of practice requires sensitive consideration, because it is important to collect information about the user interest, needs, also is a background, social cultural background. And so there are many social and cultural factors that can shape the expectation in this kind of practice and can influence how the responses are given. So the agent must manage this kind of complex social landscape and provide advices without perpetuating or amplifying biases that can be inside the data used to train it. Why is important ELOQUENCE for this kind of case study? Because it is important, as we already seen in other discussion, it is important to let the agent to understand what the user are asking. So analyze the utterances in order to understand what are the intents of the user, if provide information, analyze this information. But it is very important in this case to manage the dialogue, because we are in a social scenario, and to have an agent that is also socially acceptable and ethically compliant, it is necessary to ground the knowledge of the agent, also to acknowledge that it is inspired to social theories of interaction. So analyze how humans behave in a social scenarios like this, and let the agent to follow a typical flow of conversation and respect, which can be also culturally respectful. So in this way, it's important to provide guidance that is personalized, so tailored to individual needs, but at the same time not to let emerge some biases. And this way, Eloquence since promotes fair interaction and support also European languages, it is important for this case of study because languages introduce social nuances that can affect the expectation and the social biases. In this way, promote also trust and satisfaction for the user. So we want to validate also this aspect, the quality of responses and the fairness. Let's dive deeper into the requirements. As I said before, it is important that the agent proactively collect the necessary data to profile users. So user needs, interest, background, and it is important that the agent, over the knowledge base is grounded on the large language model, can improve with other knowledge, in particular knowledge about the domain of interest, of course, and but the knowledge about how can be managed a social practice like this one. So, moreover, it's important that it must retain information of interest. So, from the other work packages, we leverage through algorithm to fine-tune LLMs to have an agent tailored to the target domain, tools, of course, of information retrieval, to have access to an external knowledge about the domain, the practice, and so on. But also dialogue management system, text summarization to provide also summaries of the conversation and what is discussed so far, and also provide the possibility to interact in a natural way with the spoken language and with a preferred language of language for the conversation. And in the file, we focus on Italian and English language. About the data sources, this is a peculiarity of our pilot. We define two different kinds of data set. One is, of course, is the knowledge that must be integrated in the agent to provide information that are consistent and reliable. And the other are synthetic data sets. We generate this data to support the validation phase, because there are not suitable data sets for the needs of the specific pilot. So we have the need to test the conversation with different social identities, social groups. So the idea is to exploit the personas methodology to create of synthetic user to simulate a real conversation with a real user. So it's important that this dataset represent a wide range of user profiles, user identities. By letting the agent play and converse with these synthetic personas, we can obtain also a synthetic conversational dataset. And in this case, we exploit prompt engineering, but also chain of thought, graph of thought, in order to elicit the emergence of possible biases in the conversation, stimulate by means, for example, of counterfactual reasoning in the agent, by changing changing the features of the agent, the gender, ethnicity, and so on. And this data set will be annotated. And in this case, we have an interaction, strict interaction with the other work pages. Of course, work package 1, but also work package 3, because we can annotate it according to what was presented before by Okay. And also, it is important to have also an annotation from a real user. The vision of the pilot is centered on the validation of ELOQUENCE technologies through the demonstration of virtual agents in social situation and the evaluation of the bias exhibition. To the objective 5, the result 18 of the grant agreement. The progress will envelop in 4 main phases. And the first phase is the collection of this data set, and we are defining at the moment initial criteria, metrics, and KPIs. Then we set the infrastructure, we configure the tool, and revise the metrics to go on the other phase, which is the evaluation, that will be conducted in a initial phase on the synthetic data. Then, from this phase, we can collect the recommendation to for the technical development and final evaluation. So in this case, we want to involve also real users. So from this point of view, will be necessary to interact with work package 6 for privacy and ethical concern. Then, from the user perspective, the user can interact in fast or spoken language with the conversational agent, and it will be a personalized, a personal virtual advisor that will be inclusive, tailored on the user needs, and grounded, as I said before, on a multicultural and multilingual approaches. So, in this case, as said before, the possibility to explore and assess this case study and the ELOQUENCE technology with different languages. It's important to understand how social roles, identities, interests, and the background influence the interaction with the agent. And it is important to highlight that the feedback must be not only on the singular functionalities, but also from a satisfaction in interaction with this kind of agent. So we leverage on questionnaires that also consider if the agent following the typical flow of a social practice, if is respectful for social norms typical of this kind of practice. Well, for what concerns the potential impact across domain, so the key is adaptation, because we want to develop methodologies and frameworks that can be easily adapted to other domains, enhancing the applicability and effectiveness. And this kind to have this kind of adaptation, we use integrate the agent with this kind of knowledge about social practice that can be instantiated according to the specific domain. Moreover, For what concerns the social bias evaluation, also in this case, the context has a key role, is at the basis of the evaluation, because several metrics in literature to evaluate the emergence of social biases in a conversation generated by large language model. Consider, for example, if favorable outputs are suggested, provided across different social groups in a fair way, so in equal way. But in this case, we want to, of course, with an interaction with work package 1, the idea is to consider the user profile attributes divided into different sets. Because especially in this kind of practice, we have attributes that are protected because are susceptible of bias, such as in this case gender or social background. But there are, of course, attributes that are contextual and are meaningful to inform, to provide advice in an informed way. So by changing the domain, an attribute that can be protected in one domain can be contextual in another domain. So the idea is to consider this differentiation, because otherwise there is the risk that the agent is oversimplified and can filter out relevant information. So this is all. I conclude and put the question that you can find on the questionnaire. So please answer. And if you have some question, please.
I see that you generate these synthetic subjects with a variation of social background, racial, and gender, in order to limit bias, but all seem to have the same age. Did you consider age bias?
Yeah, because the age will be also to consider. And the idea is also because these data are synthetically generated. The idea is also to understand if there are some bias also in the dataset that arrive from the generation.
That's how it was. The system relies on this knowledge database, right? In order to the systems relies on this knowledge database you are creating, right? Because we have the personas that are interacting with the LLM, that simulate this conversation. But we also have some database, right, that you generate synthetically as well, right? So the question is about when you say that how you ensure, or how we can ensure that there is no bias in the knowledge dataset.
Of course, we want to define the metrics that analyze and also the data set that are generated now effectively by bias.
Or at least check the picture.
So this person is generated yourself is in the public data set.
So we can find some of the similar to what we want to use. Because maybe if also when interacting with real text, maybe some biases are not emerging. So also it's a possible way of if a well-interpreted sentence is used for evaluation. So the idea was also to generate by ourselves this that can be also used also in the other files. I think it's the idea.
You have access, for example, to real distribution data of real students when you.
Okay, this is the idea. One metric, because we want to master criteria metrics and KPI according to the main features of the bulk. One, of course, is the reliability of the data set that we present. So a metric can be if the data set generated is conform, it's coherent with the distribution of the real user.
But probably this data distribution is already biased, not in reality. So, but it's interesting thing to
But
look
I
at.
think that this, in that case, are real data.
Relying on the data you collect, she does not use any other theories about career aspiration pathways. You're trying to apply it to a relationship. Right, because that's when you rely on the data collected, she only plays any methodologies available for career aspiration previous each one.
Which kind of,
And inspiration, right? So these are questions maybe you have it in an interview, right? Each other aspiration, right?
Yeah, but that's the framework, when you use like my career advice, I normally have like particular type of questions they will ask, so that you can like personality. And so on, and based on that personality, I will advise some directions. So I was wondering if it's, I don't know. It's quite organized, because real data.
So you need the personality traits, for example, I
Not
think
to train all the students who use not to build the inspirations. Because real data may not be intuitive. This might be.
maybe it's a department, no, in the university that already has this kind of tool, right? I mean, you can dig a little bit on that, what they do with job, right?
Sure, and it's very, in career, partners, so it's about. So something, it's like. I'm liable to do.
We can follow in the copy.
Yeah.